You can begin, ma'am.
Well, good afternoon to everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all today to the 8th webinar of the Writing Impactful Research Program conducted by the Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka in association with Emerald Publishing and Gulf Medical University, UAE. This platform enabled you to enhance your research knowledge throughout the 7 sessions conducted so far. The resource person of today's session will add more knowledge to your research learning scope by discussing the topic, understanding sections, and structure of literature review papers, which is a timely topic. With great respect and gratitude, let me welcome the resource person, our speaker of the session, Dr. Sudhir Rana from the College of Healthcare Management and Economics, Gulf Medical University. With my heartfelt gratitude and respect, I welcome Professor Athula Gnanapala, Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies, Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka, and Professor M.S.M. Aslam, Chairman of the Research and Publication Unit of the Faculty of Management Studies, Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka. Further, with utmost gratitude, I'd like to welcome the supporting pillars that drive towards this program's success, our regional coordinators of this webinar, Dr. Jayantha N. Dewasiri, Senior Lecturer, Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka, Miss Sangeeta Menon, Publishing Relationship Manager, Emerald Publishing, and Professor Hashim Saeed, GIFT University, Pakistan. Moreover, I also welcome Ms. Disha Lakhanpal, Regional Marketing Manager, Emerald Publishing Group, and all the distinguished participants from Emerald Publishing, Gulf Medical University, and the Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka. At last, but not least, the passionate audience, which makes these sessions more lively. Our beloved university academics attending from across the world, senior professors, senior lecturers, students, and researchers, you all are welcome to the 8th session of this program. With that, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our speaker of the day. Sudhir Rana is a marketing faculty at the College of Healthcare Management and Economics at Gulf Medical University, UAE. He believes in driving and motivating academics and research in such a way that it can be best utilized in an enthusiastic and dynamic environment to foster versatile personalities. He's an MBA and PhD holder with an MHRD scholarship from Government of India and a postdoctorate from Putra Business School, University of Putra, Malaysia. His research profile is followed by publications into ABDC, ABS, Scopus, Web of Sciences ranked, and index journals published by Elsevier, Emerald, Science, Sage, and Basic Journal Publishing, etc. Dr. Rana is a versatile academician. He performed various roles as guest faculty, scholar, editor, editorial board member, guest editor, author, guest speaker, panel speaker, moderator, conference speaker, session chair, committee member, convener, and workshop expert at various platforms in India and overseas. He's an editor with the International Journal of Emerging Markets, Emerald, FIIB Business Review, Sage, South Asia Journal of Marketing, Emerald, and Advances in Emerging Economies and Business Operations, Tyler and Francis. Dr. Rana has delivered more than 100 workshop sessions and expert talks across the globe on different topics related to publishing in high-quality journals. Therefore, again, I warmly welcome our guest speaker to start the session. Dr. Sudhir Rana, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Miss Ishara, for such a lovely introduction. And thank you so much, everyone. Well, it's a very different day for me today. Let me tell you how and why. When you organize an event and when you also participate in sharing what you have created, you try to build in a number of things. And the same state of mind I am in today. I recall the day when myself, Professor Jayantha Dewasiri, we started debating on conducting this web series and this webinar series, basically. Sorry, I'm taking the shorts. So that reminds me somewhere, and keeping the main objective of why we have created this webinar series. My own session gonna touch one of the very important point. The important point that we are touching today is related to literature review papers. And okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So when it comes that why literature
But
review
we
papers are
cannot see your
important.
presentation, Dr. Rana. We can only see the GoToWebinar.
Okay, can you see it now, Miss Disha?
No.
No? Oh,
Yes, we
Yes.
can see.
you can see it now, right?
Yes,
You can
yes,
see
we
it,
can
right?
see.
Okay, good. So when it comes that from where a scholar starts the journey, how you decide that something that you're reading, something that you need to have a knowledge in selected readings. My one take is always that review papers give you a umbrella picture of the domain. They tell you that okay, how the domain have progressed over a period of time, how what are the different areas in domain that have potential to conduct the research further. I'm taking this session not only because it is very close to heart, but also that I'm working on several re review papers and I identified a few areas where you may like to contribute and you may like to perform your literature review papers. So I'm going to discuss all those too. So today's session is going to be more open and some opinions I'm going to put forward that I have experienced, the challenges that I faced when I started my literature review papers, and even today. So I'm going to share all of those. Well, we will talk about three things. I know that many of you might have listened some of my previous recordings or my other sessions on literature review papers. So this session going to be a little broader to what we have debated. And in today's session, I'm going to cover that what journey a literature review paper has. How do you begin and how do you end it? From where to start and where to end? So this is one aspect that I'll focus on in today's session. I'll also focus that how you devise your method for your literature review paper. How do you decide when you have a number of papers in your hand, the literature is used, what method you should pick, and if literature is really less in particular domain, then what method you should pick up, and how you're going to position your paper. Because well, being an editor, I receive a number of literature review paper, and being a scholar in the domain, I also review a number of literature review paper. Then one of the problem that we face, and even I am also facing in my literature review paper, is how do we position it, what should we do, what we should avoid doing. So I'm going to discuss all these things. Well, I have a different fact today, and the fact says that there are a number of literature review paper available in every domain. You just think about the domain and you'll get a number of papers. You'll get a number of literature review papers in marketing, finance, HR, OB, IT, big data. And not only this, you also have seminal papers in other domains, maybe like psychology, engineering, mathematics. So there are a number of literature review papers available today. Should you pick up the same style, same structure, the way earlier literature review paper have been developed? Should you pick up that? And you should try to fill the content of your own domain? This is first question that comes to my mind, because we have been debating that if you have a template and if you follow that template, your job is easy. Yes, it is some time. But when it comes that you are exploring something new, you are adding something new, you are authorizing something new, then will that template be the damn fit to what you are doing? This is something that comes to my mind. And when you decide that no, it's gonna be a modified version of the template or the paper that you have seen, so what are you going to change and where? So should I keep the number of sections the same? Should I also give the description of the results the same way that is given in that paper? Should I add something new? And what the future of this something new is gonna be? So what should I do? And the third question is that what is that must have in the paper? What are the can somebody tell me those two, three, four things that must be there in a literature review paper? So I'm gonna answer to all the three questions listed here. That yes, whether you should follow the template or not. If you follow the template, what you can change and where, and what are those must have things that you must actually have in your literature review paper. So we're going to discuss about that. But before that, have you ever thought about the literature review papers? I'm sure that many of you. And now the we are moving to more software based techniques to conduct the literature review, whether this is Leximancer or it is NVivo or Atlas TI or your Excel based analysis to perform the content analysis, or it is computer aided text analysis. So we are focusing on those lines. So is it actually a theoretical paper today? Is it only a descriptive paper today? Or there are any other methods that you can advance your literature review paper, and how? So we're going to talk about the traditional way of doing literature. We are also going to talk about how advanced methodologies are changing the paradigm of literature review and what the future of literature review going to be. See, if we discuss that there are a number of journals, 40,000 plus journals by Scopus, approximately 3,000 management journal in ABDC, same number of journal by Journal Academic Guide by ABS. So if you see that number of journals are rising, the number of paper that are being published every year is rising, then reading, documenting, synthesizing, tabulating, and then analyzing the literature is very tough manually. So should you take help of technology, softwares, and help of some coding methods to do it? And if you see that from Web of Science, from Scopus, the citations, focus on citation score, focus on the individual citation score of the authors, focus on the citation score of the journals, as well as the um, published publishers metrics. It's all about literature. It's all about academic literature that we publish. So in this scholarly world, when the things are moving in a different direction, so it is not only about the number of papers being published in a year, it's not only about the number of citations that one is getting, the things are getting more personalized too. So in what's the future of literature review gonna be, and in future what kind of literature review papers are gonna come in or are more relevant to have a discussion on? So we will also try to debate on these. But one thing I would just like to remind you that until and unless you do not identify something new in the literature, or you do not aim to identify something new, until and unless you will not brings a challenge in the picture, that maybe you're challenging something which has already been done, or you put a challenge forward to explore a new perspective in the theory, or you do not identify the inconsistencies in the existing theories, or you do not examine the work in a way that it should be, then it's going to be very difficult to have a valuable literature review paper. So this is what should be there in a literature review paper. This is what a very theoretical definition of a literature review paper is, that how it should be and what way it should be. But this is something that you should always focus on to bring more clarity on your own literature review papers. So it can be like you are going to have a critical evaluation of something which is existing, sorry, something which is existing, and you should identify that how you are going to evaluate your research questions and your what kind of approach you are taking to answer those questions. So you will have to put your questions and answer those with the help of the existing literature. So what has been done well, what has not been done well, and what has been done, what can be done. This is something that you are going to answer in your literature review papers. So this is what you're going to do. And this can be seen into the three dimensions of a literature review paper, or the focus of a literature review paper. It can be like purpose, for what I am writing this literature review paper. Then process, how should I write the literature review paper? Should I read it first? Should I document it first? Should I tabulate it first? Then I should start writing. Should I get a seminal paper first? And the last is structure, how I'm going to write it. What should be the flow of my writing? How should I organize the content? Should I have this in the paper? Should I have that in the paper? Can I avoid it? And generally, one more query I receive from authors, and I also face it, that literature review papers are pretty long. These are slightly long. So it generally starts with 10,000, 9,000 words and goes up to 14,000, 15,000 words. And most of the journals, if you'll see, they have a word limit of 8,000 words. So when the journal have a limit of 8,000 words and you are trying to produce a paper that cannot be accommodated below 10,000 words, then you face a lot of problem, and you see that whether should I have it, should I not have it, and you are kind of into a dilemma that should I, what should I do? So we are going to discuss about the structure of the paper, that's how you can structure it well to make it more valuable and position it well. The purpose remains the same for a literature review paper that I was just talking about, that what you are going to do, what is the big picture in the paper. Are you trying to just write, are you just writing it because you are working on a particular project, and especially during your doctorate, or you're working on a new domain, you came across something, you just want to document these things and capitalize on a literature review paper? Because most of the cases that I have seen in past 2 to 3 years, it I can simply say that I come across a number of papers where a PhD scholar have tried to convert their literature review chapter into a literature review paper, and they are aiming to publish it. So can that be a literature review paper? Sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no. So it totally depends that what what is there in your chapter as a literature review. Is it your own for your own purpose? Is it something general which is being done there? What are the integrations or synthesizations that you have provided to the domain and not to a specific topic? So the purpose is that you need to look at the subject as as a whole subject from the unbiased lenses. So it, in a simplified way, it can be that you are not writing the literature review paper just for the self purpose, that I have to conduct a literature review chapter for my thesis, and therefore it is easy for me to convert this chapter into a literature review paper and present it or get it published somewhere where I have opportunity. you need to really deep dive into the domain and identify that what more can be done and how the literature have been presented. What should I bring from this literature as a learning? I'll give you one example. There are a number of research papers being published on COVID-19 in every domain. You talk about the economic impact of COVID-19, you talk about the consumer psychology and COVID-19, you talk about the firm's performance and COVID-19, you talk about the supply chain and COVID-19, or even you talk about the distribution in COVID-19. You talk about the financial well-being and the people psychology during the COVID-19, work from home concept in COVID-19. So there are a number of things. Almost in every domain, COVID-19 papers are being produced, and uh, one after one, every month in every issue, every journal is at least having one paper related to COVID-19. Now, the question is that how do you synthesize it? What learnings you would like to bring out of this published literature, and how these insights are going to be useful for the future scholars? Because I remember exactly 1 year ago, when in the Feb and March the lockdown started in the uh, on the worldwide level, and scholars quickly produced some COVID-19 research, and there was a debate that should we consider COVID-19 paper. Is it too soon to consider? Is it I mean, is it the appropriate way to debate on COVID-19 based research? And in 1 year, the scenario is totally changed. Every journal is taking at least some paper on COVID-19, and I'm sure that mm, 98, 99% of journals have published on COVID-19, especially the management journals. So are there any gaps? Are there any directions that you would like to give to the future scholars from this existing literature? So for that, you need to identify that can it be done, can it not be done, and if it can be done, then what way it can be done. So you should have a purpose of writing the literature review. You please do not simply take a topic and start doing the literature review on it, and try to then after that try to prepare a paper on it. No, a good planning is essential to make a good literature review paper. And something that I tell you that what you can add in your own purpose from the literature review paper is give you the idea of the entire domain. So you know what has been done, what is the scope, what more can be done. You understand it in a much deeper way. So you have at least few topics ready for you on which topics you can simultaneously work. So this is one personal benefit that you're going to get. I would like to just remind you about the process which is given by Transfield, and he talked about that how you are going to plan for your literature review, that how you identify the need of literature review, how do you develop the protocol, how you identify and evaluate studies, then synthesize what you should have, what you should not have, and how do you disseminate, I mean present the literature review findings. Well, we are going to talk a little more in detail about all these stages. And if you see that how if you do it in a systematic way is more beneficial or more presentable compared to the traditional literature review, is also given into the cross paper in 2020. It's a recent one. So you can see that if you systematically organize the literature, the chances of getting the significant findings and exploring the future research areas are good. So that is there. Now, when you outline a literature review paper, these are a certain points that come to my mind and may come to your mind as well. That what is your area of interest? And if your area of interest is well explored, there are a number of literature review papers produced already. Because see, when we claim that I'm the first one who is doing it, honestly speaking, is like commenting on the entire scientific community that, oh, this has not been done previously, I'm the first one who is doing it. It sounds like something that community do not accept so easily. And because no area is completely unexplored. If you talk about any area today, at least you'll find some stuff on that particular area. And almost in every areas you'll find at least one literature review paper, and on some areas you'll find many literature review papers. So what do you do when your research area is explored, it is not completely unexplored? So how you're going to start, and how do you decide in that situation that what should I do, whether I should make uh, I should go for another literature review paper, or should I not, or should I just look at the future research agenda of those literature review paper and try to modify my plan to reproduce something that can be useful for you, not for the community. So that idea can be there, but that's more like a personal idea. Then how you identify the research trends and emerging perspectives? I would I will give you a very, very simple solution here in this particular situation. You just go to Google Scholar and try to put a few keywords and try to see what you get out of it. For example, you're working on financial well-being. You just go and in the advanced search, put keyword like financial well-being literature review. Or if you're working on digital marketing, just put digital marketing literature review. If you're working on leadership, just put leadership literature review. If I mean the domain that you're working in, and please write the name of the domain. Please have write a broader umbrella concept and not a specific topic, and then see that what you will get. If you get a number of literature review papers, then possibly you'll have to tweak your idea to to bring a kind of literature review paper that may be needed in that particular domain. If you do not get literature review paper, then the question is that do you have enough literature on that particular domain to produce the literature review paper? For example, human augmentation, you may not get a number of literature, a number of papers in that particular domain. So you may have to tweak that and club it with the other areas, because if you do not have the adequate number of papers that you are going to review, that is not a good idea to start a literature review paper on it. So, and many times I also face a question that how many papers should I have to produce a literature review paper? I mean, should you have, are 50 papers enough to produce a literature review paper? Are 100 papers enough? So even before you start your literature review paper, my sincere advice is it is not about numbers. It is not about that you're reviewing 50 papers or you're reviewing 100 papers or you're reviewing 2000 paper. No, it is about what protocol you follow. What is that you want to review and what is that you do not want to review. So when you define that protocol that I want to review this, so anything which is falling in that you need to review and should be a part of your review. It has to be exhaustive and it has to be protocol driven. So you can even think that when you have a number of research paper coming in your domain, how you handle it, and when there are short number of papers coming in the domain, that's how do you handle it. So these are the only two ways that you should and you must think upon. And before you actually start your literature review paper, you should just take a look on some of the emerging trends on that particular domain. Maybe you can read an existing literature review paper and then try to frame your mind, or maybe a few recent paper and the future research area or the research implications of that particular paper in that area can really help you. Once you are sure that what you are going to do, you are going to outline your paper. So it is not that you are going to produce a study by not giving some gist that why this study is important or about that particular domain that you're working on, or without having a methodology in the paper, or without having a descriptive result in the paper. So outline is very simple of literature review paper. It is just like any other empirical paper that you have seen and that you read, that follow the same structure, that, of having abstract, introduction, literature review or background or methodology or results, then future research agenda, conclusion, implications, all of these are very simple. And a literature review paper also have all of these. So when you are outlining the paper, you should keep in mind that you also have some data, and you are analyzing or assessing that data, and then you are presenting the result of data. And what your data is, what your data set is, you need to define the protocol of that data set. Here your data is coming from the journals. So who are the respondents? The journals are the respondents. And how they are responding? They are responding by producing the research articles. So see it this way, that you need to have a method, that what do you include while you are conducting this study. So you need to have a protocol or a method of choosing the samples and respondents. So when you define it, then your job become more easy to organize it, and you can decide it on the basis of the rough number of research papers that you got while you started searching it. So if it goes more than 1,000, then I would suggest you not to go for manual review. You need to take, or you should take help of a computer aided uh, uh, text analysis, or the you should analyze it by using any software. And if the number of research papers are less that you're getting, then possibly you can handle it manually. So you should just take a rough idea of methodology by just looking at the number of papers that you get in your first search, and accordingly we will have to develop the protocol of your research paper. Okay, now I'll give you some idea that how you start collecting your data. You should look at the online databases, and you must not forget to look at the individual publishers as well, because sometimes it happens that a journal is registered in a particular library or a database and not in the other. And it may also happen that due to some regions, technical reasons, the journal is not appearing in a particular online library. It happens many times. So I would strongly recommend you, but that before you actually start writing your literature review paper, or you're planning about that what can be done and in which direction your literature review paper should be, just try some common keywords related to that in these publishers and in these online databases, and try to have an understanding that possibly how many papers you're going to receive. So these are some publishers that you should search in, and these are some recommended online libraries and databases that you should consider while searching for the available literature. So try different keywords and try to see what number of papers as a result you get, and accordingly then we are going to organize the literature. So you can consider Emerald, Inder Science, Sage, Springer, Elsevier, Wiley, Taylor and Francis, IGI Global as must search publishers, and try different method of search. I mean, try to take at least 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour on for search only. Try to see what you're getting. Try to see that if you use different combination of keywords, if you're just searching in the title, if you're just searching in the entire paper, if you're just searching in the abstract, if you're searching only in the abstract and keyword, what are you getting? How many number of papers are varying when you are searching only in title, when you are searching in both title and abstract, when you are searching entire in the paper? So try different ways and try to note down the number. If number on the search is going more than 1,000, more than 2,000, it means that no, you need to take other way. And if the number is less and you're not getting papers, enough papers, then you'll have to you have more chances to bring a literature review paper. And also try the old databases, because if you see the libraries like absco, proquest, they have different indexing databases, like business source elite, business premium, complete. So you try to select all the databases and then rerun your search a number of times. And you, like I said, that Google Scholar is the most easiest way to have an idea that how many papers are available. Then search in Google Scholar, use advanced methods of searching in Google Scholar. It's really easy. So search there and try to see that what is coming in. And if the number of research papers you're getting are very high, then I strongly recommend you to use Scopus and Web of Science. Then you should see that how many papers you're getting in Scopus, how many papers you're getting in Web of Sciences, or try to make a list that okay, and keep on counting. Like this is how I do. I keep on counting rough numbers that, oh, I'm getting 1,000 papers here, I'm getting 200 papers here, I'm getting 100 papers here, so that I have an idea that yes, what way I'm going to choose and how I'm going to choose. So this is highly recommended before you start your literature review paper. Do not forget to search a few keywords in the publishers that are listed here and in the online databases and libraries. After that, when you're going to actually collect the data, and this all you'll have to do before you start writing. So it is not that you have started a paper and then you are collecting the data, when then you're collecting the papers that, oh, this is another paper that I got. No, this is what you need to do before you actually start writing and actually devising your method. Then what you need to do is you need to invest your energy in the keywords, because something can be interpreted in multiple ways. And I would highly recommend you to discuss with some domain scholars, maybe your colleagues, maybe your research teammates, maybe a senior scholar in the field, or or reading a few papers that are into the core domain and see what keywords that they have used. So you need to develop the keywords. Developing these keywords will help you in two ways. One is you know that what are the conceptual and theoretical boundaries of the paper going to be. So your paper will be around those keywords only. And second is that the possibility of losing out a single article will be really less. So you please note down the keywords, debate on the keywords, that whether this should be included or not, can this represent this domain or not. Let me give you one example. The example is you're talking about green consumption. So now when you're talking about green consumption, what are the keywords that can be there in the green consumption? Can it be a purchase, green purchase? Can it be a green production? Can it be availability of green products? Can it be the the green availabilities of the sources, green focus, green economies? What exactly that you're going to include in the green consumption? And what are the keywords that you should take to define the conceptual boundaries of your literature review paper. So you should debate on the keywords. Keywords are extremely important. If you have the adequate keywords, trust me, you can actually do a good job. But if the keywords are not decided really well, then you are going to encounter a number of questions like you could include this, you could exclude this, you have not included it, this is also a part of it. So then editors and reviewers are going to raise a number of questions on you. So decide keywords very specifically and with full focus. Okay, once you decide the keywords, rerun your search and then try to download the available literature from the libraries and publishers website. You are going to have a number of files. These number of files, you will get the same paper maybe in the same library or in the different library or at the publisher's website. So you are going to get the same paper in multiple places. There is a possibility, and there is a high possibility that the same one paper. I'll tell you how and why. These journals are indexed in different libraries, and these journals are also indexed in different indexes. Like a journal is indexed in Scopus, a journal is also indexed in Web of Science, the journal is also indexed in absco and also ABI Inform or ProQuest. So now, and also in the Google Scholar. So when you will search the same keyword in the Google Scholar, you'll get the paper. When you'll search the same keyword in absco or ProQuest or in Scopus or in the at the publisher's website, you're going to get the same paper again. So you need to be very careful and you need to remove the redundant file. There can be multiple ways of removing and cleaning your data to remove the redundant files. It can be that you start organizing the literature journal wise, or you start organizing the literature publisher wise, or you start organizing the literature year wise. So what will happen is when you'll make baskets of the literature, then you it's more easy to see that in this particular year how many papers you got, and by just looking at these papers one by one, you can simply remove the redundant files by just looking at the titles, by arranging them in different ways, or by just looking at it. So repeated files you can remove. Then after cleaning the data, you see that, oh, how many papers you are with now. um, are these really high? Are all the papers important for you? And do you actually still need to perform a literature review on it? And what what qualify it to be there in a literature review paper and what not? So the second job that I would request and recommend you to is you need to carefully read the titles and abstract, because sometimes it happens that when we run the search we see that okay, this is useful, but when we read it we find that no, it is not that much useful. Or sometimes when we think that no, this is not useful, but when we read we find that no, this is very useful. So carefully read at least the title and abstract of this paper. Even if you are doing a bibliometric study, trust me, even if you're doing a literature review which is based on the software, still you need to do it, because you need to have an idea about the domain, what is there in the domain, what the previous scholar or literature is speaking about it, what are they working on. You should have a sufficient knowledge about it, because until and unless you do not have a sufficient idea about it and you are just thinking to apply a mechanical way of having a software or running a test on the available literature, when you'll start writing the paper you'll have a number of challenges, because you do not know and you have not made a rough idea of what people are working on. And if you get number of available papers very high, say these are 500 papers, 700 papers, 600 papers, then you can apply some quality filters. When I'm saying quality filters, you can make that one paper is qualified to be included in the review or not. So this is like when we apply the respondent selection criteria in the empirical papers, that who will be my respondent, the similar way that which journal you qualify to be a part of your review. There you may say that the journals which are published by the established publishers, so you can have a criteria by the publisher. You can have a criteria of a specific indexing which is more popular. More authors take this criteria of having popular indexings or standardized indexing, especially Scopus and Web of Sciences. You can apply that. And then there are authors who also take the ranking measures to include something in the review or not. So you can apply ranking criterias as well, and ABDC, ABS, or journal citation reports are the some criterias that people apply. And when you apply this criteria, you will find that a number of research papers will be reduced or will not be a part of your literature review. So you can then handling these number of papers is really easy for you compared to handling the more number of papers. And also you have a logic on stating to your audience that what they should read and what they should not read and why. So this you can also have, and then start tabulating your data. Start seeing that, okay, what unique have been done in these papers. Are they having the same methods? Are they having the same responses? Are their results are same? Who is that writing again and again? Which are the journals which are into this race in this particular domain? So to have the idea of all these questions and to answer all these questions, you need to tabulate the data. You can manually do it, or you can take help of a software like M- Mendeley or EndNote. Then you can start working on it. Well, then you need to actually define the scope of your research, literature review. And like I said, that the literature review paper is not written just because you need to write a literature review chapter in your thesis, or you are designing a project where you need to do the literature review, therefore you are writing it. It cannot be. You actually need to take a bigger picture. And literature review papers are not written for self. Literature review papers are the community brand ambassadors of the domain, and therefore you need to really write it for the domain scholars. So you are not the only one who need it. There are multiple scholars who need it. And try to bounce your mind on the questions, what questions that they would like to have answer on about the previous literature. So simply, if you see, there are a few genuine and general questions that they would like to have an answer on. The answer for a new budding scholar or for the existing scholar can be that which journals I should read, or the question can be which areas I should read, or the questions can be who are the authors that I should read, or the questions can be, can you suggest me a few areas where I should work, right? They also have a question that can you simplify some concepts. They also have a question that there are a number of literature, there are a number of research articles in my domain, and they have conflict. Somebody says that this is why consumers are satisfied. Somebody else says that no, this is why consumers are satisfied. Somebody says this is why consumers are not satisfied. So there are conflicting views. So can you simplify these conflicting views for me and present, so that if I look at different perspectives, what I should take? So this is what you are going to do. So this is a bigger picture that you need to keep. You cannot just keep one lens and start writing a literature review. Always try to make it more general, try to make it more domain oriented, a subject oriented, rather than only a theme oriented. And Make it only theme oriented when you have a number of literature review sorry number of research articles available. So if the number of research articles are high, then make it a theme oriented. So what you will do when the literature available is really less, you get only 100 papers. What should I do? How do I devise the scope of literature, my own literature review paper? And what should I do when the literature is huge and the number of papers available are 1,000? Well, here are my two suggestions. When the literature review is really less, try to combine another area. And if you are doing it, then for that particular area only, you should have a specific region of reviewing that particular domain. And you actually need to show that the domain is matured enough to review at this point in time. Because at one way you are saying that the number of papers available in this particular domain is less. It means that the area is not matured enough. At the same time, you are producing a review on it. Therefore, when you have number of papers available in that particular domain is less and specifically below 100, then you should opt for a technique like systematic literature review or structured literature review, which is more general and that can be handled manually. And second, you should somehow in your argument bring that the domain is matured. Second, when you have you have literature available abundant and flooded in a particular area. For example, let's talk about service quality. In service quality, you'll get a number of literature research papers. So in when you have these many number of research papers, what you should do? So one is that handling these many papers manually is going to be little tough, and there are chances that you may skip the on including a particular research articles. I would strongly advise you to first apply some qualify measures, I mean some quality criterias, that this is what I'm going to include in the review and this is not what I'm going to include in the review. And second is take help of the hybrid reviews or some softwares to analyze that particular literature. So another situation can be that there are a number of literature review papers available in my area, and there are different areas that I will also discuss where number of literature review papers are already existing. So what should I do? Now I want to write a review paper, but how do what different I do? Well, I'll answer this question to you in one my another slide, that what you do. But let's talk about the deciding the methodology. Now you know that what is available. You know whether you have less number of literature available or you have more number of literature available. And like I said, that if you have more number of literature available, more number of papers available, then how these can be best organized? Can you manually take care of it? No, possibly a minimum thing that you need is to prepare Excel sheet of these papers. Even though if you're doing a systematic literature review, you cannot handle these manually. It's going to be it will create a mess for you, honestly. And when you will get the revisions and reviews from the journal, it's going to be a headache for you. So well, from the beginning, it is important for you to prepare a master sheet, and this master sheet will help you in looking at the uh, papers whenever you need. For example, you need to look at something that has happened in 2010. So if you have prepared this master sheet and you have organized the literature in the chronological order in the master sheet, then you can just filter the data of 2010 and see that, oh, in 2010 it was it. And you can apply different filters when you prepare this master sheet. You can shortlist the paper by author, you can shortlist the paper by country, you can shortlist the paper by journal, you can shortlist the paper by keywords, you can shortlist the paper by methods. So try to organize the literature in a master sheet before you process to the methodology. And then you need to see that what exactly you want to serve to the people, because accordingly you need to choose the method. You do not blindly choose that, okay, I'm going to do a systematic review in this particular domain, or I'm going to do a bibliometric review in this particular domain. Some they say, okay, it's easy to perform content analysis, so you can go for content analysis. Well, it's not about what you want to do, it is about that how the objective can be presented in a better way. Do you actually need a systematic literature review? Do you actually need a bibliometric? Do you actually need a content analysis? So you need to think about it. And how you can think about it is what has been previously done. Do you have a content analysis paper available in that particular domain? Do you have a bibliometric paper available in that domain? And do you have a structured or systematic review paper available in that domain? So this is one way of thinking, that when you find that a bibliometric paper is already done in this particular domain, so I can probably go for systematic review. Then the question will be that what is the output which is available in that bibliometric paper, and what is that new you would like to produce through the systematic literature review. And how you then you also need to understand that why systematic literature review performing in this domain is more logical than performing any other type of review. So you need to have some basic ideas about the methods. We are going to talk about the methods as well, but as of now you need to know, and you should decide that what is available and what methods have already been performed in the previous reviews. So one way of the differentiation can be choosing a different method, and other way can be that why this method is better than the other one. And if you are planning to follow the same method in the same domain, yet what different you are bringing, what different questions you have than the previous reviews. So when it comes to that, you are now systematically going to organize and present your findings of the literature review, then you need to actually think about specific questions, and those specific questions you need to define very, very carefully. And this should be that they should solve the debate rather than creating conflict in the debate. So you cannot just say that there are three ways of doing it. You are putting a new budding scholar more in confusion that, okay, there are three ways of doing it. However, though you may claim that I'm bringing a clarity into the domain, but it will be much better or more logical if you can solve the debate. So if you're following the same method, if you're doing you are organizing and presenting the literature with the same way on the same domain, so you should bring some interesting questions and you should solve the debate, so participate in the debate. Okay, let me now show you that how this can be done, and I'm going to show you some papers which are related to different methods of organizing the literature, and you'll be able to see that's how these people have done and presented their literature review findings. So I'm first showing you a systematic review, that how a systematic review is done. This is one of the paper that I used to recommend to my uh, authors and scholars too, um, because they have very beautifully organized the paper in a very, very systematic way. You can note down the paper and then see that they have started their paper with the practitioner points, and then slowly they have moved to introducing their paper. Then they have given a conceptual diagram in the paper where they are showing that, okay, these are the outcomes that they are aiming to review, and this is how the combination of dynamic capabilities and operational capabilities are moving or representing to both the outcomes. And you see the method here. They have claimed that a comprehensive synthesis of academic literature on stakeholder engagement they have performed, and they have focused on systematic review approach. So they are very clear what they are doing. And these are the keywords that I was talking about, search strings. So when they have searched about sustainability, these are the keywords that they have used. When they have searched about the innovation, these are the keywords that they have used, and so on for the stakeholder and engagement. So they have been very, very clear about choosing the keywords in the beginnings, that these keywords that they have used while searching the relevant literature. And they have also made it very clear that where have they searched these keywords. So they have searched these keywords in the two leading electronic databases, EBSCO and ABI Inform. ABI Inform is ProQuest. So they have searched these keywords in these two databases, and they got 1,079 titles. Now 1,079 titles are really big number. So what they did, they they screened these titles, and they said that an initial screening of the articles and abstract informed by inclusion and exclusion criteria in table 2 led the retention of 97 relevant articles. So see, if you see here, they got 1079 titles, and then they retained 97 articles. Okay, and then they are saying that when they have um, used the cross referencing, they got more papers, and then they had 112 full articles for the um, for the review. So this is how you are going to use. And then they have given the inclusion and exclusion criteria, that how they filtered the papers from 1,000 to 112. So this is the criteria that they have taken, and this is the inclusion criteria, this is the exclusion criteria. So if you'll see, you'll find that the papers that were available only in the English, they have in, included, and they have only included if the paper is empirical, theoretical, conceptual, peer reviewed, and even if it is a working paper or in the conference article, they have included it. But if it was not in English, they have not included it. They have not included it if it was produced before 1970. They have not included it if not directly relevant to the research questions. And they have put their research questions in the paper, that sustainability only in the sense of continuance, environment, and not relating to the natural environment. So they are not talking about the sustainability in the natural environment, they're talking about a continuance, future. So they have given the definition of what they have included, what they have not included. And then they talked about the extraction and synthesis, that what have they synthesized. So if you see that they have given that how they they got 88 articles for the final uh, review, and how they are applying the synthesis, I mean what results they are getting out of it. Because if you see, they had number of research articles. um, you see here, yes, here, that they got 88 articles from 41 journals, and 28 of which are provide one article each. So there are different synthesis description of results that they have applied, that what are the journals that are included, what are the type of information, type of research, article by the type of stakeholders. So after getting it, they came to the result, to the hierarchical capability framework that they are showing in their paper, and they are arguing on. And then they have presented all the domains one by one, and they have synthesized the literature on the basis of it. So they have systematically organized all the literature, and they have given a proper method that how systematically the literature can be organized, and what they have included, what they have not included, what are they reviewing, what are they not reviewing. They have been very, very clear about it. So when you opt for a systematic literature review technique, you need to talk about the design of the study, sampling what you're including, how you have collected the data, how you have analyzed it, and how you are reporting it. I'll also give you the sample of another systematic literature review papers, and these are on different domains. So if you see, this is one systematic review done on trade show marketing. So the method is almost same, but the way is little different. So if you see here, they have talked about more trade show and like how the trade show were defined, how it came into the picture, why these are important in marketing, all of that they have given. Sorry. And here is the review methodology. So if you see, they have also said that the current review specifically targeted the peer review journals, and in the peer review journals that they have focused on trade show marketing literature. And then they are saying that they are their review is targeted articles published only after 1980. And similarly, like they have said that they have extract the articles from the databases like absco proquest, ABI Inform, which is again from ProQuest, Scopus, Science Direct, Web of Sciences, and all the databases they have searched for, right? So you will need to have your inclusion and exclusion criteria for the review papers, and this is what it's called: protocol of what you are including and not including. So that need to be there. And then if you see in the findings, they're talking more of the participation modes in the trade shows, that how the companies have participated into the trade shows, what literature talk about it. And they are also saying that how the publication is distributed from 1980 to 2014. So if you see in the 1980 to 1984, in these 4 years, there were only two papers. Then in 1990, and from 1990 onwards, the subject has taken a pace. A subject has actually accelerated the growth, and after that there was a decline, and the domain has started picking up interest amongst the scholars. So these are the simple inferences that can be made from the table, that okay, the interest was there before 1990 but was not that much, but after 1990 scholars have given attention to trade show domains, and still it is going on. I mean, in this particular uh, era, and from 2010 afterwards, it is picking more attention. So what are the reasons? You can identify those reasons, you can narrate those reasons, and there are different ways then that you can apply to showcase the literature. For example, here the they have talked about the participation mode, and another particular technical concepts that you can pick up from that domain, and you can synthesize those. So it's good to have that what technical concepts in of that particular domain you're talking about, and synthesize those. So your review should not be limited to just tabulate the data and present it. Your review should actually talk about the concepts being used in that particular domain or that particular theme, and you should give the different perspectives of those themes. This is what you need to give. Okay, now there are different ways of doing it, that you can talk about a domain or theory while doing a systematic review. You can talk about a structure like I've shown you in the harnessing paper, and we'll show you another paper. Or you can also have the prepositions developed in that particular paper. You can also have some hybrid reviews, meta-analysis, bibliometric analysis. So there are different methods, and I would recommend that if something is already done and there are a number of literature review paper, And this whatever I'm going to share in this slide is very important, that when there are already done literature review paper, then you should go for a domain or theory based paper, because not necessarily that all these literature reviews have taken a particular theory and reviewed it in another domain or in the same domain. You can do that. And
Dr. Rana,
yes, dear.
very sorry to interrupt you. Can I request you to switch off your video, because I've been getting a lot of response from the audience saying that they can't hear your voice. So maybe
Oh,
if you switch off camera, yeah,
sure, 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 sure.
thank you so much.
I'm sorry about it.
No issues. Thank
Okay,
you.
must be better now. I hope so. Um,
No issues. I'll let you know.
please do let me know if there is any problem. So when you have already literature review papers available in a particular domain, then I would advise you to go for a domain or theory based literature review paper. Reason being that not necessarily that these review papers have considered a particular theory when developing their literature review papers. And if you have a particular flow of the concept, then you should go for a framework based or a proposition based review. If you do not have a particular flow of the concept and you do not know what should come first, what should come afterwards, then please don't go for framework or literature for framework or proposition based review. We also perform hybrid review nowadays, because we try to quantify something, or we also have a combination of some concepts and some literatures and some techniques, so we go for hybrid review. And when you have the literature review literature available in abundant, literature review is available, or you have number of papers very high in that particular domain, then I would strongly advise you to go for content analysis, meta analysis, or bibliometric reviews, so that you can present your findings and generalize your findings on the basis of the all the paper available that you take for review. But if you have very strong conceptual inferences in the particular domain and you want to contribute more to the theory, then it is more advisable to go for a domain or theory based paper or a structured review. Okay, so I'll now give you an example of domain or theory based paper. This is how you can do. So this is one paper based on how resource based theory is being used in marketing. So what they have done is they have written a review that how RBV has RBV or RBT. This is basic RBT now. So how RBT has been used. It's a theory of strategy. So how this has been used in marketing is given here. So they have given the what RBT is and what are the different assumptions about RBT in marketing, and how the definitions of RBT are available in the literature, what are the criticisms available, and how RBT in marketing uh, is progressing, and what are the different perspectives of RBT in marketing domains. So this is how the review has been done. So this is a very specific review, and you can perform a review like this, that how one theory is contributing to the another domain or in the same domain. And the theory can be of the same domain as well, that how much this theory has been used in a particular domain. So basically you're answering to that question. So why these kind of reviews are available, because when scholars divide about what are the theories or concepts that I should include, what are the theories that are driving my research journey. It is very important for them to consider that how much progress this theory has made so far in that particular domain. So you should read about that. Then you can have a structured review. This structured review gives a picture that what has been done, where this has been done, why it has been done, how this has been done. So it's more of a historical perspective, and we try to learn from the history and produce the new research avenues. So this is how the a structured review is done. That this is a paper on international franchising. Now, see, like I said, that when you have a defined solution, that what is coming first, then what is coming next, and where you are leaving to. So if you see in the structure, the authors are moving to present the value creation by having a perspective of franchisor and franchisee. So there are two perspective: franchisors domain and the franchisees domain, and then they are showing the value creation and performance by combining both of domain, both the perspectives. So if you see to the review design, you will see that they have also done the same way. That's how the online databases they have searched, including the EBSCO, JSTOR, ProQuest, Google Scholar, Academia, and the publishers like Sage, Springer, Taylor and Francis. So they have considered all of these, and then they have given us review structure. That's how they have structured their review, and they answered the question that what do we know about international rights and franchising, like what is available. And then they have moved to the next questions, that why the people need to know about the international franchising. So in simply, why, what, why, how, where, all these questions are answered in the paper, right? So it is simple to perform. So if you are planning to write a paper, you may start with structured review. Okay, these are some hybrid reviews. So if you see what we did in this particular paper, this is my paper. What we did in this particular paper is we have developed a rating method. So we looked at the previous literature, and we have developed our own rating scale. And then, okay, so here I'll show you the method. So first we did the database search, and we have considered the ABI inform from ProQuest to identify the titles, and we got approximately 9,000 peer review titles. And then what we try to do is we focused on certain papers, and then we did a rating method. So this was important. And what we did is that the domain that we kept, we saw whether how much it is related to the how much the paper is related to the questions and the theme that we are considering. So if we have given it 1, if the author explicitly mentioned the theme in the question, we have given it 0.8. If it was not explicitly mentioned, but a core component was there, we have given it 0.5 if the principles were discussed. So similarly, we have filtered the papers, and we have given it 0 when there was nothing mentioned about the, and or we do not found anything about this particular source. So we have developed an Excel sheet by giving the ratings, and then we have performed the analysis on it. And whatever we use in the empirical studies like factor analysis or the cluster analysis, we have performed all of it, and we were able to get a very interesting result in the end. So if you see, we were able to get the refined models, that how the relationship of supplier is mentioned in the literature. We were able to get that. Sorry, here it is. So we were able to see that there were 4 kind of relationships. There were transactionists, blue suitors, servants, and partners. And this we got from by reviewing the literature. So you can perform the hybrid reviews. There are more, but you can find these in Google Scholar. And you can also perform a simple meta-analysis when you have a big number of papers available in that particular area. So this is another paper that we did. We had more number of literature available. We had approximately 1800 papers available in this particular area, and that is true for 22 years. So we have performed a simple meta-analysis in this particular paper, and we could document a couple of things. So if you see method in this particular paper, this is also somewhere similar. So first we are saying that why did we plan for this review and how did we plan that this review should be conducted, then how did we identify the dimensions that should be included, then what is the time frame that we kept, what is the domain focus that we kept, what are the authors and articles that we have considered, what are the publication outlets that we are considering. So like you can devise the method accordingly. These are some must do things. Like I was talking about that, what are the must do things? These are the must do things in a literature review paper. You should have a protocol, and you need to define a protocol. This is a bibliometric literature review paper, so they are talking about a systematic literature network analysis of 38 years, and you can see that they have used the voice viewer in the method. See, this is the research method that they have given, that they have taken the climate literature, and then they have considered the web of science, and they have clearly mentioned that we did not consider Google Scholar, right? So if you see that what they have not taken is also mentioned there, and these are the key terms: data search, refinement. This is how they did. So they said that the Scopus database was searched with these, and the results of this research included journal articles, conference papers, book chapters, books, notes, letters, everything. And there were 1472 documents that they have received. Then they have refined it. Then how have they refined it? That is also mentioned. So you should have a protocol, right? So whether you performed a bibliometric paper or a systematic literature review or a structured review or a simple meta-analysis, you should have a, mm, a protocol. Now let me tell you that where you can conduct literature review papers, and this is my own research that I have done, that where literature review papers have a scope to to like where you have a scope of contributing another literature review paper. So if you see, there are a number of literature review paper available on word of mouth, on green management consumption patterns, on big data, on emerging markets, leadership, supply chain, and entrepreneurship. If you see these areas, in these areas there are a number of literature review papers existing already. So how you can perform a new literature review paper in these areas? You can conduct a literature review on the literature review papers. What you can do is you can collect all the literature review papers in these areas, because there are a number of literature review papers, and match very interesting questions. One question can be that these literature review papers have suggested some future research areas, and are there papers conducted on those future research areas? Are there papers that are highly cited papers in these research areas? And have the objective or research areas of suggested in these papers achieved? Have people worked on it, not worked on it? One. Second, the interesting questions can be that are they suggesting the same results? Are they suggesting the different results? Are these literature review papers have different domains and subjects that they have catered on? If they are similar, how they are similar, and what different they have. So one combined picture of these literature reviews you can present, and you may still identify some scope where another studies can be performed, like you are saying that what is achieved, what is not achieved, what is done, what is not done from the suggested future agendas that can be done. And you can also present an integrated review. So you can name it like integrated review on this particular domain. So it can be an integrated review on entrepreneurship, it can be integrated review on supply chain, it can be integrated review on word of mouth. So you are integrating the literature reviews, and you're integrating the findings of literature reviews, and you are making the simplifications or combinations of these literature review papers. And trust me, it's going to be very interesting. These kind of papers are yet not available in the literature, or maybe if there is any, not in my knowledge. So you have a very good chance to perform such literature review papers. Moreover, some interesting areas can be, like I said in the beginning, that there is a number of literature review produced in past 1.5 years approximately on COVID-19, and these research is related to or approximately all the domains. So you can review these your domain, and by applying a specific technique, so you see that what has been done on COVID-19 in your domain. And please try to at least read the title and abstract of the papers in your particular domain and see that how you can organize this literature and present some interesting findings. One of the interesting question can be that should research in my particular domain continue on the basis of COVID-19, because it is a phase, it will end. But would you like to see that the research should continue or not? Should COVID-19 research continue or not in your domain? And if it should be, what way? Second question, it can be that what the COVID-19 research suggests to the domain scholars for the future. What exactly it is being suggested, and what is being suggested in the results research, have companies or people actually opted implemented it? So if there are some practical examples available, you may like to just quote and see that whether it has been implemented or not. So you can review the COVID-19 literature. That is also another area. Other than that, some there are a number of papers available on the empirical methods. If you talk about any of the research methodology, um, uh, or analytical technique, whether it's factor analysis or regression or correlation or SEM, there are a number of papers that talk about it, that what it should be, what it should not be. But there are very less papers available on the methods of literature review. For example, that how the systematic literature review should be conducted, how the structured reviews should be conducted, how the bibliometric reviews should be conducted, how the content analysis would be conducted, how the meta-analysis should be conducted. So you may like to write a paper or review the methods, and from those you see that how systematic for, and you can do it domain wise. For example, how a systematic literature review should be conducted in HR domain, how a structured review should be conducted in finance domain, how a bibliometric study should be conducted in operations domain. I mean, you can choose a domain and a method and then review it. Then in that particular area, it is more easy for you to pick up the studies based on one particular method. For example, if you're talking about operations and you're talking about only bibliometric studies, so whatever bibliometric studies, only bibliometric studies are being performed in the operations, you can pick up those studies and see what these studies are talking about, and what are the influential areas, what they are trying to study, what are the challenges that they are talking about, what are the journals that they are suggesting, what are the areas that they have suggested. So you can perform a review on those. Okay, so you have some scope. I'm just repeating it. You have scope of performing a review of review, like prepare a review on the existing literature review papers. You can take the latest literature and then identify what the future going to be, and you also have a scope of writing a review about the methods that are being used in the literature review papers. So that you can do. Now coming back to the questions that we talked in the beginning, and I have taken you through to the several templates, that should you follow the existing template? Yes, you should follow the existing template, and this existing template is a guide or roadmap for you to make your journey easy. That okay, what has been previously done and what way this has been done. So you can look at the previously available templates. That can you change it? Yes, you should change it, because one shoe cannot fit all, and whatever you are trying to do possibly was not the purpose of somebody who has done it earlier to you. So you can change the template, and you can include, exclude any section on any description of the results the way you want. And what is that you must have in the paper? So if you ask me that what you must have in a literature review paper, I'll tell you three things that you must have in a literature review paper. One is that you must have a proper defined review protocol or a research method. That is a must. So you should have a proper defined literature protocol, review protocol or method. Second, there must be some synthesis of the literature. It is not that you are just documenting the number of papers and documenting in the table that in this year this has been produced. No, you must have some synthesis that okay, this is what the literature speak about this particular concept, or these many perspective or concepts are available. This is how they are related. This is how they are not related, or something related to the inferences from the literature, something meaningful, something that gives idea to the domain scholars that what exactly the domain is about. So you should have that. Then what you must have is a very well defined future research agenda. Whatever way or whatever method you have applied in conducting your literature review paper, you must have a future research agenda. If you do not have a future research agenda in a literature review paper, it's as good as not writing that literature review paper. So you must have a future research agenda in the literature review paper. Now I'm suggesting you that there are some journals that host the debates on literature review papers or exclusively publish literature review papers. For example, International Journal of Management Reviews. They're very happy to publish literature review paper, but trust me, it's very difficult to publish literature review paper with them. The journal is very known, and their impact factor is somewhere about 8. So they publish literature review papers, but you can see that what kind of literature review paper is published in uh, IJMR, International Journal of Management Review. You can also take a look at Academy of Management Review. They also publish the literature review paper. However, Management Research Review is another journal by Emerald that have been publishing literature review paper, but they also consider and they are slightly changing their focus to the empirical papers as well. So previously you may find some literature review paper or more literature review papers by MRR, Management Research Review, but now, like I said, that they are changing the focus a bit. Then you also have Management and Organization Review or Management Review Quarterly. They also publish a lot of literature review paper. In a way, literature review paper is welcomed by any journal. So if you'll see the journals, you'll find that almost all the journals, they publish literature review paper, but these are some exclusive journals that publish literature review papers. Other than that, I'm happy to announce one platform coming from Emerald, and pleasure to share that this is a initiative. This initiative is taken care by myself, and we are launching a series on review of management literature. This is a edited book series by Emerald that is coming in, and we are happy to consider the literature review paper, or I'll say that we are going to consider only literature review papers in the series. So your proposals are welcome and your submissions are welcome. Currently, we are having call for two volumes, and this call will be available on the website soon. So you may, after 1 week or 10 days, take a look again at review of management literature and see what calls are available. Well, some final tips from my side. It is that you need to take a topic that have relevant research questions, and once you have those research questions, you should balance the rigor and depth in conducting the review, and you should focus on the concepts, not only on making tables of number of studies available. Then you should choose your method very, very carefully and bring a future research agenda that is more useful to the scholars in a way that can drive their knowledge, that can actually be applied in simple way. So that can be there. Thank you so much. I welcome your questions and shall be very happy to answer the questions, as many as I can, and feel free to put your questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rana. We do have quite a lot of questions, so I'll begin with the first one. Um, the first question is, while writing a qualitative research paper, how we should prioritize the sections?
Well, like I said, that qualitative papers are also you should have all the sections in any paper. It is that you should have introduction, you should have research method, you should have the synthesis results, you should have conclusion and research agenda. All the sections you should have. It is not in the qualitative papers that you will have different sections, but uh, if your qualitative paper is driving somewhere different to a particular conceptual diagram or some background, then you can start it like you have an introduction, then you have a background, then you have a method, then you have the conceptualization, then you have future research scope, discussion, conclusion, and implication. This is how you can do. But you should have a, a research method section, even if it is a qualitative paper. You must have. There are different debates going on in the literature, especially if you'll see the papers by Jacola and some of my own papers. You'll find that qualitative papers have, or conceptual papers have, methodology section.
Right. Now the next
Yeah.
question is, yes.
Yes, please. Yeah, yeah. I'm done.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe someone else wanted to talk. Okay. So the next question is it essential to critically analyze literature in the literature review section of a research proposal?
Yes, it is very important to critically analyze the literature review. Otherwise, how will you identify scope of your own study? If you will not critically evaluate, it means there is no scope for your study. The scope will come only when you'll synthesize and you'll critically evaluate. So when I'm saying critically evaluation, it is not that you need to criticize their study, right? So you're not criticizing the study. You are critically evaluating the domain by saying that, yes, this has been done. There is a scope of doing this. There is a scope of doing it this way. So this is how you're critically evaluating.
Right. Now, the next question is very interesting because the person has asked that should we select a very fascinating or a catchy title for a review paper, or should it be a literal and objective one?
It can be like if you see the one of the paper that I have shown you, it in which we had a hybrid methodology. uh, it was very catchy. That which B2B thinker are you? So it can be as catchy as a straight question that can you say that which B2B thinker are you? And then you're trying to synthesize it. That it can be catchy, and it's always interesting to it's always good to have interesting topics, but you should also maintain the depth in that catchy title. So it is not that you should only have a catchy title, you should have more interesting stuff inside.
Right. So the person is asking that the next question is that do we need to use NVO in for the kind of literature review softwares, because they're asking that what is the pluses and minus of using something like this.
Okay, see, if you're using NVivo, then you're doing a content analysis. Atlas TI, NVivo do that. Also, if you want to use softwares like Leximancer, or you can use Voice Viewer when you are doing bibliometric study. The plus and minus is that reviewers are going to ask you, the challenge is that why you have used this software and how this software is better than the others. So in a way, you need to justify that why you are doing thematic by this software and why not by the other software. This is one challenge that you'll get. The good thing is that when there are a number of uh, papers available to you, like number of the papers available is very high, 1000, 1500, 2000, it's easy to handle through the software. They will make the Excel for you. You can do the text analysis, thematic analysis, and identify the influential keywords, authors, the combination of the citations, co-citations. So there are a number of interesting results that you can drive by having the software support. But challenge will be that you'll be asked that why this software and how it is different, how it is better, and what interesting result you got by using it.
I also would like to add something to Professor
Yes, please,
Sudhir.
please. Sure, sure, sure.
So with regard to the NVivo, so you should understand that NVivo is not a replacement for reading the literature. So that is the key thing. So what you could do is you can identify several themes using NVivo and doing a good analysis with regard to that. So that is the key point. Thank you.
Absolutely. I totally endorse your view, Professor Jayantha. Thanks for bringing such an interesting uh, point that yes, NVivo can just analyze it. NVivo cannot read the literature. So you are the one who need to read the literature.
Right. The next question is not really related to a literature review, but someone is reviewing a paper and they've asked their question. They said that once they were writing a review paper, where he experienced he's experienced in the subject, but the senior professor that he was dealing with did not have a good opinion about it. He received a feedback that he cannot do any writing without doing any original research, and with no original research publication, they said it's not going to get accepted. They're asking if this is true, and he's also asking, can I not try to write something if I've not done the original research? What would your opinion be, and what would be your advice to other fellows?
Okay, see, the original research is having original research questions. So this is how we define that. What do you mean by original research? So original research is when you have an original theme, when you have original research questions, when you have some original research objectives. So have you taken the same research questions that are already addressed in the literature? Then obviously no use. Are you trying to achieve the same research objectives that are already achieved in the literature? Then similarly no use. So a novelty comes when you have the different research questions, different research objectives, and the different research themes. Yes, that is required. A paper cannot be published if you do not have original research ideas, original research questions. Then it cannot be. So I don't know what these research questions were, or objectives were, but if a senior professor is saying that these are not novel, then this might have not been novel. You need novel ideas, novel research questions to address the domain. Something which has been done is being done. What is the fun of doing the same thing again? So my advice is that read the literature to the domain scholar, like the respondent have suggested, that try to develop novel and interesting research questions and objective that have a relevance of exploring further. Should be relevant.
Right. The next question is that what do you mean by umbrella picture of domain?
Okay, umbrella picture of domain is sometime when you search a particular keyword, very niche keyword, and you identify that there is no literature review paper available, but there are not many takers of that particular domain or for that particular theme. So instead of saying that I have searched in the literature by this particular niche keyword and I did not find any literature review, so I am writing it, when that's not the correct answer. It means that you have chosen something niche where there are less number of takers or readers or contributors. Simple. Because like I said, that no domain is completely unexplored. So if you say that it is unexplored, there could be some regions that it is not interesting, it is not relevant, there are not many takers. So when I'm saying that you need to have an umbrella picture, is you need to include more stakeholders. That okay, for example, you talk about e-commerce companies. There are there are many research on e-commerce companies, from the supplier side, from the buyer side, from the platform side, on the servicing side. So instead of just taking one niche, then try to have other stakeholders pull in. So if you're getting that the literature available is not sufficient, it is always good to take the another perspective. So make it broader so that you can cater to more takers or more readers in that particular domain. That is what I mean by the umbrella picture. Try to make it bigger, try to make it broader instead of saying that nothing is available.
Right. Thank you. The next question
Please.
is that there is someone who has written that I'm reviewing articles from 2020 to 2015, but 2000 but in 2015 I'm not getting he's getting very few articles. Now in that case, what do I need to do with my work? And they're asking for a few suggestions and ideas.
Okay, what we do is, as an editor, when we send papers for review, I'm sure my colleagues are aware that we rate the reviewers. Okay, we have um, we have a feedback where we rate that okay, review was timely or not, review was adequate or not, suggestions given were sufficient or not, and we have rating 1 2 3. Okay, so where we say that okay, review was adequate, given 3 out of 3, review was not adequate, given 1, that it was insufficient. So when your reviewer rating is low, editors refrain choosing you as a reviewer, and when your review rating is higher, editors choose you on priority. So it simply means that you might have not done the good work, I'm sorry to say about it, but this is what I can assume being an editor, that editors has given you a low reviewer rating. So when there is a low reviewer rating, we do not choose. And in Emerald, we have a system of 3-point Likert scale. Please correct me, Miss Sangeeta Menon, if I'm wrong somewhere. But this is what I have seen, that we have a three-point Likert scale or scale rating on several questions. And when we see that the rating of a reviewer is less than 2, we do not choose. So you should give sufficient review feedback when something is assigned to you, and not only that what you're writing, also editor read that what exactly you have written, is that doable, what you are asking, whatever criticism you have made, is that relevant, and have you given suggestions, and is your decision of accepting or rejecting a manuscript is is actually actually based on certain logics and arguments. So simple rejection, simple minor revision, simple major revision puts editors really off. Even if you are accepting a manuscript and you're saying that okay, accept the manuscript, and you have not written that what is good about manuscript, is also not justified. When you're saying that reject the manuscript and you simply say, oh, there are many manuscripts available in that domain, this is not the reason, right? There are different ways to cater that. When manuscripts are available in that particular domain on theme, then how a new idea can be brought in. So you need to actually give a detailed review, a relevant review, a logical review, and on the basis of it, the editors are going to rate you. When your rating will be higher, you'll be given a chance to serve as a reviewer again and again by other editors too. So
If
maintain
I
your
may
review
add
ratings
a very,
high. Yeah, please, Ms. Sangeeta, please add.
I think you've answered all the doubts very well. I just wanted to add one little line, which is, like you said very correctly, yeah, we do have a reviewer rating system that the editors use. And I think one of the challenges for many reviewers is that they don't understand how technical and how important their work is. Your comments actually help improving the manuscript. So it's not just about your personal likes and dislikes, but your comments have to be relevant and something that the authors can use to improve the manuscript. Like I think anyway, Professor Rana has already explained that very, very well. I think one of the points that you may want to look at is how you can improve your skills as a reviewer. There are a lot of resources out there. You can even get in touch with me. So there are reviewer trainings that will help you make a good contribution as a reviewer. And I think that can help you raise your ratings as a reviewer as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
perfect. Yes. If you are new in the field, then you must look at those training and materials. Thank you, Ms. Sangeeta.
So we'll take the last question because we've come an end to our time. The last question is, what is the difference between narrative literature review and systematic literature review paper?
Okay, in narrative literature review, you make narrations out of it. Who said what? And in the systematic literature review, you systematically organize the literature first and then present your findings. So in simple way, this is the difference. But narrative literature reviews are more useful when there are different views. So you are first narrating the meanings of it and then making the combinations, synchronizations on these. And systematic literature review also does almost the same thing, but you organize the baskets into the systematic literature review in a much organized manner. So systematic is more in the trend nowadays because you can also present the descriptive results. You can also have a chance of driving the future research agenda from those results. You also have suggestions for everyone. For example, if you say that these are the 10 journals that are publishing it and these are the 10 other journals that are in the race, so it means you're suggesting the editors of those 10 journals, they see somebody else is also coming with the same focus. Or you also give them the chance that okay, you also have these journals who are publishing on these particular topics. So you are not only suggesting to the readers, you're also suggesting to the editors. I used to read a number of literature review papers not only because these are from my domain, but also to get an idea that okay, which are the topics in trend, what people are thinking, that in HR what is going to be. So when I get a paper related to some theme related to to that same, then my opinion is different and my way of handling that particular paper is different. And this is how, sometime an average paper gets selected and a very good paper that you think is very very good do not get a space. The only reason is that editors also read, and they read other than their domain, and they look style method from those domain too. So be a reader, read. The more you will read, more beneficial it will be for you. Thank you so much, Miss Disha.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rana. So I would like to invite Miss Shanika to please go ahead with the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Miss Disha. Good afternoon to you all. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Emerald Publishing, Gulf Medical University, and Faculty of Management Studies of the Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka, and on my own behalf, extended a very hearty vote of thanks to the main speaker of the session, Dr. Sudhir Rana from the College of Healthcare Management and Economics, Gulf Medical University. Sir, it was indeed an inspiring and eye-opening session. At the outset, I would like to express my profound gratitude to the Faculty of Management Studies of the Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka, headed by Professor Athula Gnanapala. Further, I would like to express my special gratitude to Professor M.S.M. Aslam, Chairman, and all other members of the Research and Publication Unit of the Faculty of Management Studies for their unconditional support. I would also like to express our sense of obligations to regional coordinators for their kind guidance for this event, and also in helping us in strengthening various mechanisms. In particular, the support rendered by Dr. Jayantha N. Dewasiri, Senior Lecturer, Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka, Miss Sangeeta Menon, Publishing Relationship Manager, Emerald Publishing, Professor Kashif Sahid, Gift University in Pakistan. In fact, they supported a lot in making this program a great success. Then, with the gratitude, let me also thank Miss Disha Lakhanpal, Regional Marketing Manager, Emerald Publishing Group, for the support rendered in making this program a great success. Then, with a great respect, I would like to thank to all the distinguished officials from Emerald Publishing, Gulf Medical University, and the Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka. Finally, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the audience, all the senior professors, senior academics, visiting faculty, researchers, industry participants, partner university representatives, research students, media presenters, including Sunday Observer and Sunday Times for their active participation. Thank you all again.
Thank you so much, Miss Shanika. I just want to add one thing that, my dear friends and colleagues, if you're working on a literature review paper and you think that I can add any value to it in looking at it, suggesting anything, or the difficulty that you're facing, not only because I'm editor of review of management literature by Emerald, but also as a scholar, you please feel free to reach out and discuss it with me. If I have faced the similar problem anywhere, I'll be very happy to discuss that. My good wishes, and keep contributing more to the literature by doing more literature reviews. We actually need these. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye. Have a lovely weekend.